All right. What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. Link will be in the description box below as usual. Go get it. PayPal link there also. They asked me to put it up, so I put it up. Thanks everybody for supporting. This video is entitled Can You Forgive Your Father? Got this from watching a little clip of Steve Harvey talking about the father-son relationship dynamic when you're not in the same house. And part of the issue is this. Some people don't want to admit that when you're not around your father, a part of you is missing. And another problem with that is when you're around your mother, you feel like you're going to betray your mother for wanting to be around your father because of, the game sometimes, or just loyalty. It just depends. But at some point, I got to ask the question, can you forgive your father? And the reason I ask this question is because it seems like people hold their fathers to a higher morals and ethical standard than they do their mothers. Hate to make the comparison, but I'm just saying. Somebody like, my mom was there for me my whole life. I get that. And this goes back to when I was watching that movie, Comeback Dad, starring Charles S. Dutton. For you people who, if you just had one of those dads, you say he just pays child support or whatever. You don't think he was there for you. He just paid child support. I understand that. But if you didn't see much of that money, because normally kids don't, that means your mother stole from you every 2 weeks or every month, the whole time. And didn't plan for your future the whole time. Some of y'all turn 18 years old and you get the boot. If you don't go to college, or it's already told to you once you turn 18, you gotta go, and you thinking it's because, at 18 you're considered an adult. No, because at 18, check stop. But if you still have a relationship with your mother under those circumstances, can you forgive your father? I mean, if that's forgivable, can you forgive whatever it is that he did or didn't do? Some people feel like, they weren't around and they didn't try to be around. For the ones that didn't try to be around, I get it. But for the ones that tried to be around, I don't get it. Because what winds up happening is, if you have one of those people who likes to move, or who likes to keep, who likes to be in the middle of their father-child relationship to make sure y'all gonna have an animosity towards each other, and you can forgive that. Can you forgive your father for not being there the same way? Because you might have been part of the problem. You might have been used the same way. And you might recognize as you get older that you were used, or that you moved around to get away from what you thought was a bad person, but winds up being, you moved to separate y'all, to put a wedge between y'all relationship. Under those circumstances, can you forgive your father? Because part of the issue, and I've even watched this on some of these talk shows where these people grow up and become adults, and they realize the story that they had as a child and actually how it played out as an adult is two different things. Now, another part of this is this. what if you might have been a mean spirited child of your father for whatever reason that, whether it was real or manufactured. If you can forgive yourself for being dead wrong as you become an adult and a parent, can you forgive your father for how he responded to you being dead wrong if you felt like he responded in a less than stellar manner, right? Because if you can forgive you, like, yeah, I shouldn't have did that, are you still going to hold him to that same standard? Like, but you, on the other hand, it's interesting, It's interesting. Even on the parenting side, if you learn your mother's story and you're able to understand, if you had some dysfunction in the house, why it got there, and you can forgive your mother for, how her upbringing influenced you in a bad way. If you get to know your father's story and you find out how his upbringing affects how you two related or didn't relate or didn't bond or the way y'all bonded, can you forgive them for the dysfunction that they introduced to you also? And that's the question, like, can you forgive your father? Some people have a hard time, if your mom disciplined you, was she overboard? Was she excessive? Really doesn't, I guess people don't really, was it abuse? But if your father disciplines you, is it, because it's a father, because he's a man, it's all of a sudden abuse and some anger-filled tirade, right? That was, unjustifiable and unforgivable. But getting disciplined is getting disciplined, or you just didn't like getting disciplined by your father because, his belt stings a little bit harder. But that's the thing. Can you forgive your father for disciplining you? Because some of us needed discipline, though we don't want to admit it, but we just didn't want dad to do it. When he did it, it was the worst thing in the world for some odd reason. So now that built up this hatred that to a degree is unnecessary. Now, you might have been taught some things that affect you negatively as an adult. And it might affect you negatively in your relationships. And you might try to work on that. But if it comes from mom's side, it's understandable. But if you feel like your negative traits come from dad's side, it's unrelatable. And to be able to do that, can you forgive? Ultimately I ask this question because fathers and mothers have two completely different roles. So if your father's actually being a father and loving and teaching and guiding in a fatherly way, you might look at it as a negative quality, a negative trait, because it's, it's not coming in a motherly fashion, which it will never come in that way. So everything that's done that's considered loving in a fatherly manner or disciplinarian or guiding or mentoring in a fatherly manner is looked at as negative. So if you when you come to find out if your father did these things in from a good space, but you always took him as negative, can you forgive your father? Because even on the opposite side of that spectrum, if your mother did things and they meant to be negative, you can forgive her. We have this Stockholm syndrome with moms, and then death row inmate with dad type thing going on. So just had to ask the question. Like, share, subscribe. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.